Welcome to the Mortgage Podcast, where we give tactics, strategies, and inspiration to get you to 10 plus loans per month. We talk a lot about how to make a ton of money in mortgage while also being happy and thriving in your personal life. If you want to be a mortgage millionaire, you're in the right place. Welcome back to the Mortgage Podcast with Todd Screama, where we try and get every single person to 10 loans a month. Why? Because it's where you could live a great life, a rock star lifestyle. So I talk a lot about value, and people are like, Todd, sometimes they're like, I don't understand what value means. So I thought I'd do a podcast on the 9 different types of business value that one business person can give to another business person. Now, why is this important? Well, if you look at the sustainability of a loan officer that's going to close 10 loans a month, they almost always do business with purchase-based referral sources. That would be realtors most commonly, home builders, or other types of people that could send you purchase-based loans. So when I say create value, I'm going through a book right now. It's kind of the book I'm stuck on. I'm really reading this book and studying this book and doing the exercises and listen to it on audio. And it's called Nonviolent Communication. I think the book was written 30 years ago. It's all about how to understand a person's needs, because that's when they will do whatever you want. Well, the same is true in business. Like, talking about human communication is directly correlated to whether someone sends you business or not. Let me tell you a quick story. I've got this gentleman that in my family office, this guy John runs, and he says, hey, I want you to look at this investment. So he researched it. Eventually I get the guy on the phone and I talk about this investment. And I'm like, okay, he very clearly articulates the value of the investment. Well, I had another need that I wanted him to help me in another business venture that he's done his whole life. And I just said, would you coach us on this a little bit if I do this investment as well? He says, yeah, I'd love to. I love helping people. So his value was the rate of return. In this case, that's a financial interest. And then his knowledge and value, which is another form of value, he is also helping me with. So he helped me with 2 things. Now, because of that, we started doing business on these 2 different things, and I got to know him personally. And now he's like, hey, do you want to meet me down here and go on vacation with the wives? And, and we're leading into a more personal relationship. But in business to business sales, it's important to realize people only are attracted to you and do business with you because they think they're going to receive something. Let me say that again. People only start doing business with you because they think, or they believe, or they feel that they're going to receive some sort of value from you. So let's talk about the 9 different types of value and articulate each one a little bit. And then you could pick 2 or 3 of them and you could make value options based on that. Okay. So let's talk about financial. Probably the most popular one when it comes to realtors. What I found with doing business with realtors now for 33 years is they're in 100% commission sales. And that means they want a lot of commissions. Like, they kind of fall into 2 categories. Say a realtor is closing 10 or 15 deals a year, and they're always afraid they're not going to get those 10 or 15. Or you've got a higher end producer, maybe doing 30 real estate deals or 50 real estate deals a year, but they want to get to 100. Okay. Both of those are financially driven. So a lot of times when a realtor says, I want you to pay for my Zillow, we've got to drill down on that, because what they're really looking for is more leads that leads to more commissions. Zillow's just the way that they think they can do that. So financial is one, and it's probably the most common. And I would also say it's the one that people are least willing to talk about. Meaning, if I'm a loan officer talking to a realtor and they bring up, hey, pay for my Zillow, most loan officers immediately shut down instead of continuing the conversation to really find out, hey, if I could pay $1,000 a month for Zillow, but I could make $4,000 a month, I would do that deal. So maybe it is a good idea. I don't know. Right? So I've got to deal with that. Or maybe that leads to another thing. I had this situation where this realtor wanted to do Zillow and they wanted me to pay for it. All I did is help them put on 2 client parties a year, and they got another 10 deals a year. So it accomplished the same thing at a much lower cost to everybody. So when you really understand what the need is, then you can fill the need. But if you don't know what the need is, what's most important to them, you can't fill it. The second one is time. It's some sort of time value. You can save me time. You can save me energy. The third one is what I call the emotional value. So a lot of times when I first started in the business, and still today,
I'm that person that says you can. I remember having lunch with this realtor I'd done business with for many years, and Joyce was her name. And Joyce closed one deal, and she's used to averaging 5 or 6. And I just looked at her and I said, Joyce, because I could tell something was wrong. So I just said, what's wrong? You just don't seem yourself. And she said, I closed one stinking deal last month. And I just looked at her and I said, Joyce, you're better than that. What happened? And just kind of digging into the pain a little bit, she says, I don't know. I said, let me just ask you some questions. Come to find out, she did some things a couple months ago that caused that bad closing month. So that's emotional value, meaning that I am lifting her up. I want her to think about me like, man, I'm always going to accept when Todd asks me for an appointment because he fires me up. I use that for years and years, and I still use it. I believe that in business, I'm Mickey Mouse. And I just got back in Disney World for a week with my kids. And, Mickey Mouse doesn't have coffee stains on their thing. Mickey Mouse is always waving. Mickey Mouse is always hugging the kids. Mickey Mouse is always posing for the kids. So I believe I'm on stage. And emotionally, I've got to show up for people so that I can help lead them with my emotion. Okay, so that's emotional value. Next, there's relationship value. That is connection, that's trust, that's community. I'm in relationship with that person. Now, what you're probably thinking is, Todd, if I'm going to build my business, I don't have a relationship yet. So what a lot of us default to is, because we like people, is we try and establish too much of a relationship too soon. This is like in dating, they call it love bombing, right? That's a comparison. I'm just going to say how much I appreciate you, how much I am attracted to you, all these things, and I'm going to love bomb you to death, hoping that you'll develop a relationship with me. Well, we all know that the love bombers only attract codependent people. So you're going to attract the wrong people when you do that. You're not going to start out being someone's best friend. So there's other businesses where that can happen. For example, I am just hiring a new therapist that does shadow work. I'm meeting with her next week. I got referred to her. I heard kind of what she does, and I'm like, hey, I could grow from that. Now, she was so highly referred that I already trust her. I'm going to have had 4 friends refer her to me. So I don't care what she charges. I don't know what she really does. I'm going to do it. Okay. So I'm going to start out in that relationship with a lot more trust. 4 people that I trust tell me she's great and does this crazy work. I'm going to try it. Okay. So I'm going to trust her from the start. Even if she's kind of dorky on the first call, I'll still use her. So that's an example of relationship. But in a lender to realtor relationship, sometimes you can accomplish that. So here's the most common way. Let's say I do business with the biggest producer in the office. He strongly refers me to the lady who's the number 4 producer in the office. The number 4 producer wants to beat the number 1 producer. So she will use me if I become highly referred in the first meeting I meet with her. She's going to feel like, hey, this is who the big guy uses. So I'm probably going to use him. That is a form of relationship value. Now, the next one is knowledge value. Knowledge value, we do this when we come to a realtor and we say, hey, I know you do a lot of self-employed people and I do portfolio lending. I can help you get another 60 grand this year in commissions. That is knowledge lending. When we sell products or we sell experience. It does happen sometimes when you can take, say, a new realtor and they don't know anything about mortgage finance, and you could teach them and maybe they become a productive realtor and you do business with them for a long time. They're attracted to you initially because you've been in the business for 20 years. You've been doing this at a high level for 30 years, and they're attracted to your knowledge. Okay, so that's an example of knowledge. Now, the next one is health and wellness. Now, some of us may look at that and say, God, that's kind of silly. But just to give you an example of how this play out in our business, I do know a realtor that she's very much into retreats, like ladies' retreats. So 3 times a year, she will take ladies on a retreat, and there's like 60 of them. And they bring in specialists that help you with yoga. They do meditations. They bring in a nutritionist. And you're like, Todd, that seems kind of far out for a realtor. This realtor did 215 closings last year. That's no exaggeration. So that's one of her main sources of business, is she uses health and wellness to establish relationships, and then people use her for real estate. Now, that's not the only thing she does, but that's about 25% of her closings. So if you do the math, that's like 50 closings a year, just doing retreats and getting to know people and staying in touch with them. So health and wellness isn't a super popular one. It would be a little different to do that. But here's another example. I've got a loan officer who started a book club. She has about 50 people to her house once a month to do a book club. She gives them a book, or they buy a book. They all read it. They come back and they talk for 45 minutes or so about the book. Then they talk for about 30 minutes about the new book that they're reading. And it's all about business and growth and things like that. That's an example of health and wellness being an attractor to your business. It's a form of value. The next one is status. Now, this one can be a little bit out there, but I'll give you an example. There was a realtor that I chased for years, and I actually started doing business with him for a few years before I stopped originating. And I liked working with him because his status was he was the number one realtor in Sacramento. Number one. And he had been number one for like 4 years in a row. That gave me a lot of status. So I served him like crazy, but just because I did business with him, I got to know all these other people. So status can be something that is important to people. I have a friend of mine, and he basically does private equity for pro sports teams. And he knows everybody. And everyone loves to know him because he knows all the professional coaches, all the professional ball players from 3 different sports. And he's just like, his social calendar is amazing because everyone wants a piece of him. Everyone wants, hey, if I get to know him, then I can get to know these other famous people. And so that's status, okay? It might be, maybe I'm an owner of a company and that gives me status, right? So status can be one. It's a tricky one because if you don't play your cards right, you're going to come across as a braggart or a know-it-all. But status can be important. It's okay to name drop in the appropriate setting and say, hey, do you know Michael Soares? I do business with him. I've done business with him for 4 years. Oh, you do business with Michael? He's the biggest realtor in town. Yes. So if he uses me, I must be pretty good, right? That's a status statement. Okay. Then the last one is growth and opportunity. To me, emotional value and growth and opportunity kind of go hand in hand a little bit. But you could take the book club. That's an example of growth. My overwhelming desire to help people grow their business is a brand, if you will, or a way of attracting people. And I've been that way since I got in the business. I used to give away these cards. They were cards with famous quotes on them. You know, maybe it says, if you think you can, you can. Albert Einstein. I'm just making that up. When I went out and made sales calls, I would leave those little Post-it notes. They were cards that I had made at a printing shop. And every week I would have a new card. Well, over the course of several years, I would walk into some offices and there would be people that have 30 of those cards on their wall pinned to their office, right? Or their credenza or something. It was common. And that was part of my growth and opportunity. Like, hey, I'm going to help grow you. In Jolt, one of our offers we use is we say, hey, I've got a list of 500 investors in our town that own 5 or more homes. I would like to meet with you and see if we can develop a lot of business together based on these investors. Investors bought 23% of all homes last year. That's an example of financial and growth and opportunity combined. So how do we use these things? How you use these things is you create a sense of value. You can pick 1 or 2 or 3 of these things, and you can develop clear value statements where you can use it to attract people. When you talk to people, I can pretty much tell you that they have 1 or 2 of these needs every single time. For example, I met with this realtor one time, and she was doing a lot of business, like 100 deals a year. And I'm quizzing her. I'm doing my 2-step close, and I'm trying to find the need. Finally, she just stopped because she was kind of stonewalling me. And she said, Todd, you know what I really need? I said, what? She said, I need to work less than 70 hours a week or I'm going to get a divorce. Bingo. Time is her value. So every time I talk to her, I give her a book on time. I took her to a seminar once that was about time management. Anything to do with time, that was the value to her. So did I do a good job on the mortgage loans? Yes. What her real driving force is me paying attention to her work hours and making sure that they were decreasing. So every phone conversation, hey, Cindy, how you doing with your time? Did you work all day Saturday and Sunday? Because you promised me you were going to take Saturdays off. And I would constantly make that a theme because to her, that's value. You care enough about me to get me to work less so that I can enjoy my life more. So those are 9 forms of value. They can go so many different ways. They can be said so many different ways. But you want to find out what is the need of that person. However, when you go through this, I use a thing called observation, feeling, need, solve. Say it again. Observation, feeling, need, solve. So here's how that works, and here's how you apply these. I observe. I ask a lot of questions is how I tend to observe. So when this lady said, hey, I need to work less or I'm going to get a divorce, bingo, I got it. Then I go into the feeling. Tell me more about that. Well, last Saturday, I got home at 7:00. I forgot we were having a dinner party at 6. My husband threw a fit. I mean, he was so pissed off. We didn't even go to the meeting, made me call them and say, hey, sorry, I worked too late, but I'm too exhausted to go. And frankly, I forgot about the time. Oh, then I get into the needs. What you're really articulating is if I could help you with anything, it's how we can focus on that time need and get the work hours down so that we're more in balance with our husband and our children and we aren't so exhausted all the time. Do I get that about right? Yes. Now solve. Well, I will tell you, my first 4 years in this business, I was only, 27 years old. I almost had a heart attack. I had a panic attack, come to find out. I went to the hospital and they just said, Bud, you're just stressed out. You must be working too much. And I was. So I feel your pain. I had a coach right after that. I hired a professional coach. And he taught me these 3 things. Let me show them to you. That's the solve. Okay. So observation, you usually do that through a lot of questions. Then you get to the feelings. What feeling? The feeling's important because our brains don't go from logic to feelings. They go from feelings to logic. This is one of the big hacks that salespeople need to understand. I need to talk about the feelings. Guys, we need to talk about the feelings too. Guys have feelings too. So we get to the feelings, then we get to the real need, then we can have a chance to help them with it. When you follow that observation, feeling, need, and then solve, and you are aware of 9 different ways to add value to them, you're going to win. You're going to be one of these people that gets to 10 loans a month or 20 loans a month or 30 loans a month if you want to. But if you don't understand these things, you will not get there. You can work 70 hours a week. You can make a bunch of cold calls. You can do all that stuff, but you're never going to truly connect to someone in a business to business setting where they can send you 8 loans next year. You won't get there because you don't know how to do it. It's like making a recipe, but you don't have the ingredients. So that's the whole key. And this is one part to professional sales that people, it's like a black hole. Most people just can't even articulate what people's needs are in business and what the value is to solve it. When you can connect those dots, that's magic. So if this hit home with you, please send it to someone else in business. This is one of those that even a general business person can understand. If you think about different businesses, they all make money because they're providing some value around this. So for example, Amazon is time. I ordered 3 Amazon things yesterday because I didn't want to go to the store for one thing. So that's a time savings, and that's made them billionaires. So you can connect these dots to all kinds of things. Fast food is about convenience. They didn't say it was good food. They say it's fast food. You can go in there and get out and get food and get your family done eating in 10, 15 minutes. That's convenience. So you can think about all these things and how does it apply to your practice? And once you understand that, you're going to explode. I hope you enjoyed this. Have a beautiful day.